Do you find yourself wondering why your child isn't talking yet when he seems to understand language so well? As a speech-language pathologist, I've been asked that question many times. In this video, I'm going to highlight 7 tips that we know are key to nurturing your child's first words. Tip number 1 is get face-to-face. Whether you come down to your child's level or whether you bring your child up to your level, be face-to-face. Being face-to-face has so many benefits. Being face-to-face makes it so much easier for you and your child to connect and to learn from each other. When you're face-to-face with your child benefits from all the visual cues, and as a parent, you're able to see much easier what your little person is interested in. Noticing and following your child's interest is tip number 2. Take some time to be present and to connect with your little person. Notice what seems to catch their attention. Tip number 3 is to wait for your child to take a turn. We often find that the less language a child has, the more adults tend to jump in and either direct their child's attention or bombard them with questions. Encourage your child to serve first. What do we mean by a serve? Well, it kind of depends on your child's age and ability level. A serve could be a smile, it could be a movement, it could be a gesture, it could be an action, it could be a word, and so on. Count to at least 5 in your head and maybe a little longer if your child's not so active. While waiting, do lean forward with an expectant smile so your child knows you are waiting for a turn. If your child doesn't take a turn, then it's your turn next. Think of your interaction much like a game of tennis or ping pong. Tip number 4 is to return the serve by copying your child. We want to encourage you to copy your child's actions and sounds. Unless it's inappropriate, copy away. If your child is banging the drum, you bang on the drum. If your child is clapping, you clap. If your child babbles, then you babble, and so on. Copying your child lets your child know that you've noticed what they have done or said and that it's important. And before you know it, your child's going to begin copying you. Tip number 5 is to interpret your child's serve. Parents become masterful at reading their child's cues and quickly learn what their child's actions, sounds, and words mean. Let's imagine that your child walks to the door. What we are suggesting is that you take a second and say what he or she would if they could. If your child isn't speaking, you might model a gesture like point to the door and say outside. You want to go outside. Or if your child does have a few words, you might simply say outside. You want to go outside. Interpreting is important because while acknowledging your child's serve, it also shows your child how he or she might communicate this desire in the future. It may take some time before your child learns to use the words or gestures that you've modeled for them, but insisting that your child copy you may place unnecessary and unhelpful pressure on your child. Tip number 6 is to comment. When children are struggling to communicate, all too often adults in their life revert to asking question after question. So if we kind of look at this mural that's behind me, it's very common that adults would say, oh, look, what's that? Oh, what's he doing? What color is the duck? And so on. When actually what children really need is for an adult in their life to comment.
Assuming that the child is looking at the ducks, it would be really beneficial to hear you label and describe, "That's a duck. I see lots of ducks. The ducks are swimming. Swim, swim. I see a boat," and so on.
So commenting is all about describing what you and your child are seeing, feeling, thinking, smelling, tasting, hearing, and so on. Remember, kids are going to need to hear those words many, many times before you're going to hear them using those words. Tip number 7 is to keep the turns going. So, just like a good game of tennis has many back and forth volleys, so too does a good conversation. Strive for volleys in your interaction. And remember, a child doesn't need to be talking in order to have conversations with you. These tips may sound super simple, but what we've learned is that sometimes it's kind of tricky learning to implement them. The other thing that we want to highlight is if these strategies are new to you, or some of them are new to you, don't feel like you need to implement all 7 at once. Give yourself a bit of a break and pick 1 or 2 to focus on, and once you feel like you've got those well in hand, then you can slowly add on some of the other ones. If you've been using these strategies diligently and still you're finding that you're not getting the benefits or the results that you're looking for, we have another video that we are going to suggest that you watch, and stay tuned. It's going to pop up at the end of the screen. Thanks so much for watching.